Cause I'm about that. Cause I'm about that. I'm about that come up, running up on them fools that are talking foolish. Try to get them funds up, killing the mic just like I ran and Jules in. Y'all gonna get done up front, knowing that kid with an attitude, but you can't really blame his mother for this. What he had to do, turn. I'm about that cash flipping, I'm getting it on and off the market. Not about that VIP, not me, not never been a fan of carpet. All about that RIP for all of my Jesus gone departed. All about that finish when I started, I'm about that.
Top down the night, you're not ready. We ride, we're about that. So high, we see the whole city. We own the night. Down the night, you're not ready. We ride, we're about that. So high, we see the whole city. We own the night.
Nothing about it. Wanna man, I can bring the drama, but it ain't by chance. I'm fucking rapping, you don't really want a problem. Made a little cash in the back end, but the rap they call me starving. Yeah, y'all gotta ask who the man is. Hope I'm gonna be like, beg your pardon. I'm about that.
Top down the night, you're not ready. We ride, we're about that. So high, we see the whole city. We own the night. Down the night, you're not ready. We ride, we're about that. So high, we see the whole city. We own the night.
And welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to another Power Hour. It's a Monday edition. It's a victory Monday for a lot of us around the area. And Casper, the friendly ghost below me here, Quinn, the great disappearing act as soon as the show starts. So, who do we got here? Paul Munson, Ty Bartell, the Casper, the friendly ghost below me, McNuggies, and Mac. And we have a couple others we'll add, I believe, throughout the show. Special guest appearances, I believe. Luke Schuster is going to check in with us here this afternoon as we talk about some of, there's some headlines out there right now, ladies and gentlemen, that really putting sports and I guess student athletics on the main burner here. So we're going to start with, of course, the same way we do each and every day. It is going to be it's National Kick Butt Day. Yes, I said it, Kick Butt Day, and I just got to start off by saying how much butt we kicked this weekend on the network. 23 games I think we had in tow, even a Saturday game with East Palestine. My Bulldogs getting the win on Saturday at 2 p.m., so congratulations to them for getting off the schneid a little bit. I know how hard they've worked. I know how hard Coach Tony Foster's worked to get to where he is today, and they celebrated for 24 hours, and now they move forward to Waterloo, who will be their next opponent, and they will actually travel to Waterloo. We're trying to figure that out and see if what we can do. Not a whole lot. Our hands are tied, obviously, with the situation. Their bleachers are condemned. In case you're just kind of getting in on the situation 8 weeks later.
Bring your lawn chair.
What's that?
Bring your lawn chair.
Yeah, bring your lawn chair and your blankets, what we've been told. So there was a scrimmage with East Palestine earlier this year at Waterloo, and that's kind of where we got the first hint that probably not going to be able to make it on YSN given the situation that they have with the bleachers and press box. So we'll have a full list of games we'll have available on our website, ysnlive.com. But I want to kind of continue this National Kick Butt Day. Guys, talk about the biggest butt kickings that you saw over the past, I don't know, whatever. What's the biggest butt kicking you saw, and were you part of it? Paul, go ahead.
Over the weekend, there was some games that we had on the network that were some butt kickings for sure. I don't know if I've ever been a part of well, yeah, I was. I take that. There was a butt kicking that I was involved in. I was on the end of the kicking part, not the receiving part. So
you kicked somebody's butt?
Not like myself personally, but I instructed some students to kick some butt, and they went on the baseball field and proceeded to kick some butt. And I caught slack for it, but I was told to do it, so I did it.
Oh boy. I don't want to go down this road. I don't think. I think this is some high fidelity stuff. Ty, talk about the biggest butt kicking you've ever seen or been part of.
Well, I don't know. I can't recall any like particular ones, but recent memory. I mean, let's just go to this week and shout out to Jeff Bezos and his New York Yanks. How about that? The butt kicking they got from the Rays that culminated on Friday's game, huh? But I don't know. I haven't seen Jeff since then. I wish I was there to see his reaction, though. But yeah, how about those Rays over the Yanks? Finally have someone to root for in the ALCS.
Well, if you would have stopped down at HQ, you would have seen Jeff Bezos in his glory. And by glory, I mean handing $50 to me with a $53 expense from an ATM. So, Quinn, butt kickings, tell me about the biggest one you've been a part of.
I got mine kicked. It was an AAU game back when I was in high school. It was, I think, my sophomore year. Ended up playing a team from Michigan, and we lost by over 100. Got just blown up.
What?
Yeah, it was like a god squad from Michigan. Like it had the top recruits in the country from Michigan or whatever. Played them and lost by over 100. It was like 149 to 40 or something like that. Yeah, it was bad.
Michael Page chiming in and saying he lost to Louisville 51-0 when he was a junior in high school, and it feels like, at least looks like with the emoji, he's still feeling it to this day. Michael, biggest butt kicking you've ever seen, one side or the other?
I don't know if you could call me a part of it technically, but I was a part of the broadcast. Beaver local since week 2 on. Haven't been in a close game really at all. They're kicking butt. They're going to continue to do it.
Attaboy. Way to go, company man. Mac, you've been a part of a few on both sides. What's the one you take away?
First off, I wake up and I kick butt every day. So that's where that's at. So,
I don't know about that.
Being a national kick butt day seems to be every day for me. So, and I also want to shout out for the Miami Dolphins for kicking butt last night. There you go, Kate. So that was good too. So, yeah.
You know what you're not really good at kicking butt is making friends. Like you,
Billy's about to get his butt kicked.
Yeah, I feel like you're gonna be out on a lawn chair in your own front yard.
Warm up the sleeping blanket.
Grab a sleeping bag there, Mackie. Honestly, is there one you remember? Being a part of in a game.
I think the one that I remember the most is recently we were down in I guess we were considered the Youngstown team to go down to Texas, but we were majority Astro players.
I remember this one.
And we played Chinese Taipei, and they beat us. And we all year we were a really good team, and we went down to Texas, and we had a really good pitcher, and they did too, and They hit the ball all over the place, so we lost 10-0. It was the first time all year we faced a run rule situation against us. So they beat us down pretty good.
And what's the famous quote from Emil Bertolini about that Chinese Taipei team?
They're cheating. Their bats are corked.
That was my favorite. It's never that they're that good. It's they're cheating. The bats are corked. I've never seen nobody hit like that.
It was incredible. I mean, it was just it didn't matter. They were just a really good baseball team. And one of those guys on that team, the kid that pitched against us, just signed a deal to the Pirates.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the same kid who started that game against us is either you just signed a deal or just pitched not too long ago for the Pirates. I mean,
what's his name?
For the postseason. Probably the only Chinese dude on the team.
Okay.
Not Jung Ho Gong.
Thank God.
He's drinking.
Give me a minute, I'll find it for you, Michael. Okay.
All right. Well, you knew what was going to happen as soon as you said the P word. It was.
I know.
Boink. His radar's going crazy right now. Let's talk about some scores before we get to some meat on the bone here from a journalism standpoint. We're looking at the WFMJ.com scoreboard. Hubbard, big winner last week, 42-38 over Alliance. That game, I think, when we look across the board, that was a lot closer than what we thought it would be, boys. Everybody agree with that?
Oh, yeah.
Sing Min King. That's his name. Sung Min Kim.
Okay, so the immediate question I have is, how do you think Jeff would pronounce that? You were in the booth with him on Friday.
You mean Saturday?
Saturday, sorry.
He'd probably just go, Sing my king.
Who cares, guys? He's the pitcher. He's pitching for the team. It's all that matters.
He only goes 1 day a week. Don't worry about it. Scumbag.
Every 5 days he pitches.
Everybody's gonna make fun of me all the time. Saturdays for the boys.
I really don't have a list that bad, do I?
One of the ones that really surprised me was, I mean, it was a great game nonetheless, but Wellsville at home getting upended by Buckeye Central 32-29 the final. You look at Akron Coventry and Cheney. Cheney coming out to play. A slow start to that one, but Cheney was able to
8 turnovers.
Yeah, a lot of turnovers.
Fumbles. There's 8 fumbles.
We were watching here at the studio, Paul, and just kind of looked at each other. Is this thing ever going to get going?
Yeah.
And then Cheney turned out to be 2 touchdowns better than Akron Coventry. Boardman with a big win, 49-0 over Cuyahoga Falls. East falling 43-6 to Steubenville. Lisbon taking that long ride out to Plymouth, and Plymouth came to play 46-12. It was an unorthodox offense. We watched it the entire night. I mean, I know that I'm not a football mind, but when I look at that, it seems to be false starts every single time. I know we were talking about it. There's and maybe a referee will come in and chime in on this, but when a player puts his hand down, I was always under the impression that he can't pick it back up unless he is the tight end or the end of the line. Is that still accurate?
I've seen it a whole bunch, so I'm going to say no.
Okay. I'm not going to say it's right or wrong. It was something I was always told.
It's something I was always told too, but I've seen it done. When I coached, we used to do it too. We would, all the kids would have me in a 3-point stance and then come up to their knees and look over to the sidelines for plays.
That's true. I never really looked at it that way. Regardless, 46-12, Plymouth moves on. Lisbon's postseason is over. And talking to Charles Bell, my good friend, it sounds like Lisbon's going to keep on trucking through the rest of this season, which is good to hear. You want these kids to finish what they started. Niles, 35-21 winner over Ravenna, so Ty probably heard that one in his backyard. Lowellville, 30-26 winner over Valley Christian, so 2 teams that are in the YSN network going to do battle in Lowellville, and Vinny Ballone coming away with the big victory. Some regular season from the other day, nothing really. It's all Pennsylvania. Looking down, Camel, the team that we didn't get to cover in Week 7, gets blown out by Hillsdale, 51-0. LeBray, Billy, probably one of the most exciting games, at least on the network, 47-14. You and Jeff did the dance over in Leavittsburg. Tell me about how that game. Is LeBray for real here?
So I said earlier in the year, LeBray is basically a 3-headed monster, and if they can kind of figure out how to slow some teams down, and they're young, so they're just still kind of figuring it out. They can kind of figure a couple things out, like not turning the ball over, not committing stupid penalties. They're going to be in games, and their athletes are just as good as everybody else's. So it's just one of those. What type of team are you going to get? You're going to get the young, immature team, or are you going to get that experienced team that kind of will take over towards the end of the year? And it looks like towards the end of the year, they're kind of figuring it out. I mean, Devin Carter is a grown man, and he will run through you and around you. It's the whole idea of the year. When they played Brookfield early in the year, he got hurt in that game. So, and they had I think Quinn had that game, actually. I think they had like 200 yards in penalties. So they can't do that this week.
So when you look at LeBray, that's a team to keep your eye on. We will have a couple different things for LeBray this week, looking to have a coach's corner and hopefully a player profile, and we will also have that game this weekend. Columbiana and Reserve. Reserve ends up with the victory, 37-16. Quinn, you had your eyes on this one. It was close for a while, and then things just kind of got away from the Clippers.
Yeah, it was. Make sure I'm on. Yeah, I mean, Western Reserve just kind of kept going. They never really slowed down or had that little moment where they had a defensive breakdown or anything like that. They just kind of kept on trucking through it and just kept putting up points almost every time.
So Reserve goes on to meet Springfield in what's a rematch, one of a few rematches we have on the network in Week 8. Cardinal Mooney. You want to talk about a team that was pumped up to play. Mooney comes out and pumps Conneaut 44-7. at Stambaugh Stadium. A lot of us kind of scratching our heads about Mooney earlier this season, and here comes CM looking to do some damage when it counts the most in the playoffs. Is Cardinal Mooney for real? Is this a team that can run through the brackets? Considering there's other teams here locally, who's going to put up the biggest challenge you think against Mooney? Paul,
I think this week I think will be a good test for them. They get Garrettsville, and Garrettsville, they played some good teams this year. So, I think this will be a good test for them. If they get past Garrettsville, then, they could make it to the, semifinals of this bracket, I think, for sure. Because after that, they'd get the winner of that Crestview game, which is Crestview and Ravenna. So they would get that winner. So, that would be good match. Like I said, this will be their biggest test, I think.
Anybody else want to chime in on Cardinal Mooney?
Yeah, I think Garrettsville is their biggest test. I'm not quite sure if they'll get over that hump with Garrettsville. Garrettsville's a solid team. They're committed to winning in all sports over there. So winning is not a new thing to Garrettsville. So,
Jason
I
Wright
like
chiming
their
in.
team.
He's saying Mooney's a totally different team than what Thorny and I saw in week 1. And I think he's right. I don't think anybody doubts that for a second. We got Daryl Klein saying Niles might shock some people this week. I'm in agreement. I think that Niles could be a wild card the rest of the way. It's going to be, what can Zach Leonard do, and what are people going to do around him? Thorny chiming in saying division helps Mooney. Offensive line has been changed since week 1, playing well since the Boardman game, and that's the MO for Cardinal Mooney. It's not always, the record going into the playoffs that counts. It's what you can do when you get in there. So you look at a team like Mooney, you look at a team like Ursuline, and you see what can be as opposed to what was. The old adage is what? You throw the records out the window when you head into the second season. So Mooney could be that team. Another team that I'd like to look at, East Liverpool, 41, and Gilmore Academy 14. That sets up another rematch, West Branch and East Liverpool, does it not?
Yep.
So you've got the Potters taking on the Warriors, and it was a close game, a 6-point game the first time around. What does East Liverpool have to do, with all due respect to West Branch, to overcome the big bad wolf in their division?
East Liverpool's been up and down this year, haven't they? Like, they played well, they played really bad, they played well.
Well, here's the thing. You look at it, and Michael will hate to admit this, but East Liverpool won against Beaver Local, and Beaver Local pumped Minerva 53-14. So when you look at, is East Mike? I know you don't want to pat too much Potters on the back, too many Potters on the back, but is this a team that could do damage, or do you think West Branch is a team that's going to put the train on the tracks and look out East Liverpool?
I hate to say good things about rivals, but, East Liverpool is definitely a team that can go into West Branch and pull off an upset. Now, we often say we don't give West Branch enough credit, so I think that we have to acknowledge that the West Branch Warriors are a phenomenal football team that can make a run possibly to a regional final. So this is going to be a very tough test for East Liverpool. And I think can they win a battle in the trenches? I think they're going to have to play in a shootout to win this football game, honestly. But yeah, Michael Page, look out for East Liverpool. They could definitely pose a threat to West Branch. But I think that they have to put some weight on those skill guys like Devin Toothman to punch it into the end zone a lot.
So the next game we had was Girard Woodridge. Richie had the call of that game. Girard skating by Woodridge 41-21 pretty easily. Kind of what we expected with Girard. They're probably going to be tested a little bit more this week, Paul, with who they have. So, talk about that matchup and getting by Woodridge, what that consolation prize is.
Yeah, consolation prize is the number 1 seed in the bracket, Canal Fulton Northwest. And I remember seeing that stadium because a couple of years ago when South Range went deep into the playoffs, that's where they won their regional championship game at. That is a beautiful field. It has got an awesome setting. It's kind of set back in the woods, and it's nice. So Britt will be back on that call, and he's going to head down there. I said, hey, if nothing else, you're going to see a really beautiful stadium. And
their whole complex is awesome.
Real deal. Yeah.
But let's be real. If there's any team that wants the open invitation to a number 1, it's that Girard team that finished number 2 a couple years ago, and they want to go prove themselves quick, fast, and in a hurry. So we are no way counting out Girard, and we're backing the Indians here, and I hope they go up and show them what Girard football is all about, because Girard football can be smash mouth football, punch you in the face, don't care how many points we score, you come stop us, and I think that's what you're going to see from Coach Pearson and the boys
Now,
this week.
there's something interesting about that side of the bracket. If Girard and Beaver Local win, that sets up the YSN matchup in the third round of that region.
Let's go.
So-
We know we love YSN matchups.
We got 6 this week.
Could be.
So that's big. Here's one that we were all kind of feeling on Saturday night when Warrensville Heights in 3 overtimes beat Liberty 12-6. Ty, you were there. Talk about the heartbreak and the heartache that was Coach Allen and his team.
I mean, you want to talk about probably, I think, the best defensive game I've seen from two teams all year. I mean, that was Warrensville Heights and Liberty on Saturday. I mean, we didn't see offensive points scored until I think 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter when Liberty was able to get the game tying touchdown and tied up at 6. The only other score before that was a pick 6 from Warrensville, and Liberty 3 interceptions off of Warrensville Heights, who had their backup quarterback in because Nate Bledsoe was injured. But the biggest thing for Liberty was just the lack of having a place kicker, because a place kicker makes that game 7-6. Or they had a chance too in the first overtime. They held Warrensville. They had a chance to kick a field goal to win it, and the lack of the place kicker, it really hurt Liberty, because they were quite literally a kick away, just an extra point away from pulling off that upset and going into to that Maple Heights Stadium.
Some say great defense, others say terrible offenses.
Well, here's the thing.
It was a great game to watch.
Yeah, it was an awesome game. It was an awesome game. And the biggest thing was, Ty, you said it, special teams, this is where it comes into effect. I mean, that's great that you have an okay special teams unit through 6 weeks, or most 10 weeks typically, right? But you get to the playoffs, and if you can kick a field goal, and by God, if you can kick an extra point, that game is completely changed. It's really over. I mean, you look at the difference that special teams, if you can be a champion in all 3 phases, and coaches talk about it all the time, champion in all 3 phases, you might win yourself a round that you shouldn't. Otherwise, unfortunately, you look like Liberty, and you have to give the other side the ball back, and you've got to put your defense on the hook. So I'm with it. That's why I think Springfield's so dangerous.
It was crazy, because when I was watching that game in the overtimes, I want to say, Ty, it was the first overtime. Warrensville Heights had a 1st and 53.
Yep. Penalties are killing them.
I sat there, I'm like, how on earth? I mean, I know it was some penalties and stuff. I'm like, a 1st and you got more than half the field before you get a first down. And I'm like, okay. I was like, this plays right into Liberty's hands. All they got to do now, you're going to start on the 20. Just maybe get 1 first down or a little bit of yardage. And it was just like, oh my goodness. I was like, this was just back and forth. And then finally, Warrensville Heights just stuffed the ball. It was a big run, and they ran and scored a touchdown. I'm like, well,
credit to Coach Allen, because he's got an incredibly young team there, and they looked really good on a big stage. You want to talk about, I couldn't count how many times where we saw Warrensville Heights in the red zone and Liberty just backed them out, or they created a penalty that kind of helped Liberty, but they kept them out of the end zone all the way up until the third overtime. I mean, their offense couldn't do anything against Liberty's D.
Chet Allen's a great coach and a huge fan of YSN, so we want to say our thank yous and great jobs and congratulations for. I thought it was the best game of the night.
They played tough. I mean, that's a heartbreaking way to lose, but man, they were fighting the whole way. So we
got Thorny chiming in, calling his shot, saying Ursuline will roll through Division 4. So
it's a bold statement, because that's going to be.
I mean,
Region 13, Division 4. That's a tough
bracket. Put yourself out there, Thorny, a little bit. I can appreciate where you're at, but don't be afraid to chime in if Ursuline ends up struggling. I don't want to say struggling through the bracket, but there's some elite competition in Division 4, and one of them will be the Pulling Bulldogs. Salem didn't look too damn bad either the other night, boys. So keep your eyes on that. Fitch, Josh saying Fitch will roll through Division 2. I hope they do. But I think you'd be crazy to think that there's not some great competition waiting for you and looking for the Falcons. Listen, nobody's a bigger supporter of Austintown Fitch, at least on this network, than I am. I love what Coach Parker's doing. I love what the boys in red, white, and blue are doing. But let's not get cocky. Let's punch the clock and do what we've done well the entire year, and the Falcons will continue to fly. So, what do we got here? Another comment. This one from Monica. She's saying, "I'm hoping for the Rams to try and upset Norwayne." We're with you. We're trying to make sure that that the Rams just. I mean, Mineral Ridge, one of the hottest teams in all of Northeast Ohio right now. Would
talk
disagree with that?
Talk about switching a season around and just rolling through everyone in the last 3 weeks. I mean, geez, the Rams really flipped the switch and they played when it mattered most, and that really showed this week too.
We'll get to them in just a little bit. Mike, Beaver Local putting the pumps on Minerva a little bit, 53-14. Without going too in depth, talk to me about what you saw.
It was a great game for Beaver Local. It was kind of a slow start, defensively at least, because they allowed 7 points all game in week 4 when they faced at the same location, and Minerva just drove right down the field on their first drive and scored. But then after that, Beaver Local, they put the foot on the gas pedal defensively, forced a couple of turnovers, had some big plays offensively. None bigger than a 92-yard bubble screen ran by Dylan Moore for a touchdown. But another dominant performance offensively and defensively for Beaver Local, and they've got a lot of momentum heading in to what will be their toughest game of the season in Euclid, Ohio against East Cleveland Shaw.
The other game, one of the other games we had, Newton Falls getting blanked by St. Thomas Aquinas 48-0. So Newton Falls' quest for a state championship falls short here in 2020. Brookfield pumping Oberlin 55-27. Great call out there by our boys. Doing a tremendous job from YSU and loving what they do on YSN. An interesting game at SIBO Stadium in Salem, 34-19. The Quakers beat the Wildcats and eliminate Struthers from playoff contention the rest of the way. I saw Salem winning. I didn't see him beating them by that much. I thought this would be a 3-point game, maybe a touchdown. Somebody gets late. Salem is looking like a different team, and Mr. Ron Johnson, and his youthful quarterback, who just happens to share the same last name, is tearing things up here in 2020. So continued success to them. Hopefully sometime this week we'll have Matt and Jared on to talk about what they saw. As for the first time this season, Salem will have to have a different set of announcers on YSN because they have vacation, right? Vacation?
Yeah, they have a wedding in South Carolina. Both of them do. They're in it. So
I know that
it'll be Jamie and Romo.
Yeah, Jamie and Romo will represent the Quakers and the Bulldogs very well. So we don't want to spite Poland, but it's good. I mean, you talk about excitable guys. That is going to be a great game and hopefully a lot of points because we don't want Jamie to have a voice on Saturday. Or is it Saturday or is it Friday?
It's Saturday. They got double duty. They'll pull a game on Friday for Hubbard, and then they'll go Saturday to Poland.
Fingers crossed, right? So the other game, Mineral Ridge pumping Wellington 40-8, as Monica pointed out. Shakir Perkins, an absolute stud, just balling out. And he's a young man who's been waiting his turn, waiting for his time, and he is taking the most of the situation. So congratulations to the Rams. Continued success, man. I'm a big fan. Regular season wise, excuse me. The only one we got to talk about is this one right here. The Bulldogs, my boys, 722 days between wins, and I gotta say, man, because we're gonna get into this in just a minute, because it's a perfect segue.
Tony got his sprinkles.
Oh, yeah, Tony got his sprinkles. Sprinkles are for winners, and Coach Foster gives us sprinkles. We gave him an ice cream cake, so he sent me a picture of the ice cream. Maybe I'll put that up, towards the end of the show. I'll pull it into the feed here. But congratulations, not only to Coach Foster, the entire coaching staff, the entire team, because they never gave up. It'd be easy to be like, you know what, we're done. We're done. We're going to pump the brakes. We're out. They didn't. They never gave up. So many teams in this area don't give up. These kids are not learning anything by saying, you know what, we haven't won in X amount of days. Let's just call it a season and be done with it. It's one thing when health is on the line, but it's another thing when pride's on the line. And that there's a big difference. And credit to my Bulldogs. So proud to be an East Palestine alum and see that victory. Yeah, it wasn't by 30, but it was a win. And sometimes in life, you just need a little bit of something to get your momentum shifted. And this could be it for East Palestine. Who knows? It just give them a taste of what it's like to be good again. And to what their work and their accomplishments and what they're working towards. So again, congratulations to my Bulldogs. I know Coach Foster needed it. I can't wait to sit down with him for the first time and forever and talk about a victory. So excited for that. Catching up on some comments here. Stevie saying Rams roll. Josh asking if Springfield win. They didn't play. They had a bye. Quakers never took the foot off the gas, says Shauna. Thank you, Shauna, and it shows. And then from Coach Seidel, congrats to Coach Foster and East Palestine, which leads us into our next. Do we got to take a break? We will take a break. But before we do, we are going to talk about journalism in question. What makes a good if you're friends with me on social media, specifically Facebook, we're going to talk about that. But we're going to really highlight, probably for the next day and a half, starting today, the GPA and the lowering the bar for student athletes. There was a headline in the Canton Repository that kind of set the world on fire a little bit. We're going to talk about student athletes and if they should be held to a higher standard or if we should lower it for them so more people can play sports. All that and your G. Burbick Farms, What's Your Beef, after this on the YSN Power Hour.
Your teams work hard and give it all they've got. Well, so does ours, because 21 Sports and YSN give you extra effort when covering local sports. 21 Sports and YSN, winning coverage of our Valley's teams.
Planning a project around your home or rental property? Trust the electrical service to the local experts with 62 years of serving the Mahoning Valley. Joe Dickey Electric is your local go-to source for responsive, reliable residential electrical work. From everyday maintenance and repairs to new installations, electrical upgrades, and safety inspections, no job is too big or too small. Call Joe Dickey Electric today, 800-549-3976, or visit DickeyElectric.com. That's DickeyElectric.com.
Myers Family Insurance knows the importance of a great team.
Our team continues to grow to help you with your Medicare and retirement needs.
The annual election period is here, so it's all hands on deck to make sure your plan still meets your needs for 2020.
Call us today.
Hello, I'm Greg Burbick with G. Burbick Farms. For the last 100 years, my family has farmed in Columbiana and Mahoning counties. I began raising cattle in 1996 with the goal of providing a better product for you and your family on the dinner table. Our grass-fed and grain-supplemented Black Angus beef are raised with no hormones, steroids, or antibiotics. We're known for our hometown-friendly service and incredible tasting products. We're locally owned and have customers across the tri-state area. Our products go from our farm to your family. Stop by our farm on New Buffalo Road or visit us on the web at gburbickfarms.com. Don't forget to like us on Facebook. G. Burbick Farms, it just tastes better.
And welcome back to the Power Hour. DJ Yoakley. Oh my God, Paul, that day is creepy as hell. Sliding over the OG Big Head. We're waiting on Luke Schuster to chime in or to pop in. I know his son had an eye doctor appointment, so it was going to be spotty. He was the first one to put his head out there, no pun intended, whenever we were going to talk about this. But before we get to that and buy him a little bit more time, one thing I want to draw some attention to is journalism in question. What I mean by this is there was a little bit of an article in the local newspaper here based out of Lisbon, and one of the writers decided that he was going to chime in on the numbers of East Palestine football players, which was interesting because he's had 6 weeks and really the previous year to talk about this, and he took the opportunity now to pick on the numbers and write a story about the numbers game and how the numbers were low across the board for football in East Palestine. Interestingly enough, we already alluded to East Palestine getting the victory, but my thing is this: is if you're going to put something together and point the finger at a kid or many kids or not so many kids in this case in a program, number one, you better do it with tact because you're attacking children. 14, sometimes 13-year-olds, all the way up to 18-year-olds. And 18-year-olds, I understand it. They're men, they're women at that point, according to the United States of America. But I will say this, that's still somebody's son or daughter out there that they are not making, some of these, the kids aren't responsible for the numbers being low. They're not. Coaches really aren't either. They do the best they can to recruit within the schools. And then you look at other places, and it's no real secret is sometimes the kids do the recruiting. But I will say this, is if you're going to go at kids and you're going to expect a response from coaches and what you are writing about in this article, which we'll put up here in the stuff, the sideline is if you're going to go at kids and you're going to go at the numbers and point the finger at coaches and say that you're running away from teams, you better be ready for what's on the other side, because we're not your local, we're not your local go-to media where we're not going to stand up for our teams, our schools, our coaches, and our student athletes. This brand right here, buddy, this brand represents each and every one of our schools, each and every one of our organizations. And let me just plant this seed for you. If you ever think about writing another article that way again, you better check your step, because you got 6 guys that are going to come at you on this Power Hour, and I'm going to be leading the charge. They're kids. So with that said, guys, when you look at opportunity for journalism like we have in front of us, is it fair for journalists to hold kids and players accountable, student athletes accountable for what they're doing, is going out each and every week, giving it their best, and if they don't come out on top, why should they have the finger pointed at them and tisk, 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 because of what? I guess that's my biggest question. Paul, we'll start with you.
I've seen it, for years, and I know you have too, DJ, with the different papers that were out there. There's not as many anymore as there used to be, but they're still out there. And you would see a lot of times the smaller schools didn't get a lot of the coverage. A lot of the smaller schools, they just keep them in the shadows because, nobody's really paying attention to them. And then when they would do something good, they'd shine a little bit of light on them. But for the most part, it was always like, don't pay that much attention to them because who really cares? And it was never fair to those kids, because those kids are trying just as hard as your big schools are too. When I say your big schools, your big city schools, your Boardman, your Fitch, your Poland, they're big schools. They are big city, your Moonies, your Irvins. Those are big city schools that get a lot of the light. And it's a lot of those smaller schools, your East Palestines, your Letonians, stuff like that didn't get the light shined on them. But those kids are trying just as hard. And then to turn around and crap on those small schools when they're not doing very good and be like, well, that's just disgusting. It really is. It's like, you're supposed to be a journalist and you're supposed to be fair to everybody and tell a story. But what story are you telling that I'll kick you while you're down, because why not? But when you're doing decent or you're up, well, we don't cover you that much. So whatever. I mean, it was when I watched your comment today on social media, I went and I watched it again and just sat there and thought, man, I mean, it's what we live in, and we've lived it, being from smaller schools. Most of us, on here are from some smaller schools, and you've seen it. Even when smaller schools have a lot of success, they still don't get that much praise. It's just like, oh, okay, good for them. They did something great. And then you just move on from them. And, to hammer kids and to really kind of just kick dirt on them, I think it's just it's disgraceful. It's garbage. And, you should just turn in your pen and your notepad and walk out the door, because if you're going to do that to kids, that's why I thoroughly love and enjoy doing what we do here at this, because it don't matter if you're an East Palestine who's 0-17 or a Fitch who's had success forever. We're going to cover them the same. We're going to give all those kids the same light. They're all going to stand under the same light and get that exposure, because they all deserve it. Nobody's doing, everybody's out there running sprints the same. Everybody's out there pushing a sled the same.
And it's not just about football. We don't want to point that. This is
or
about all sports
or any of it. Yeah. They're all out there sweating their butts off, girls and boys. And, girls sports is even worse, unfortunately, in our area, because nobody did a lot of coverage for them. And, we're out there hustling doing it. So,
Ty, what's your take on this? You went to a pretty big school. Do you feel a little bit better when you're covering a smaller school like Liberty or something like that, and you can shine a light on? I think you were the only one there from the area doing the game. So, I mean, does that make you pride and put a little extra effort on you?
Absolutely. And you know what? Being a journalism major too up at Kent, um, the thing about journalism too, and it's a very very good quote that I heard from one of my professors early on, I think freshman or sophomore year, is there's nothing new under the light. It's all about where you shine that light. So you're never going to find anything new. It's all about where you shine it. And I think the biggest thing with us is what we're giving those kids that platform. We're finally shining the light on these smaller schools. And my thing is, if you're going to be in journalism, and the most important thing is get all the facts straight too. So if you're going to sit there and you're going to, berate kids because of whatever, there's not many going onto the football team. That's just where you're shining the light on that, but you're not reporting all the facts. There's many other ways to write the story. Let's talk about the kids that are actually on this East Palestine team that have been there for how many years now, and they're fighting every single game, whether or not they're winning or losing every single one. There's how many kids that are showing up to every single practice, showing up to every single game, taking these long bus rides wherever, going to these away games. And I mean, they finally got a win. I mean, there's a much bigger story here in that they finally ended this drought of 700 and some days. You said 722, I believe. And I think there's bigger stories in it like that. And what people don't realize is, I mean, sports, that's how it is. Teams, small schools, more than big schools, obviously, you're going to go through these droughts where you can't get many kids that join the school. And like you said, it's not a coach's fault. It's not the kid's fault. It's just there's just a lack of interest in these grades right now of that sport. And that's okay. The schools go through this, and you got to realize that. I mean, that's the thing about sports. It's a game of going through droughts. There's highs and there's lows, peaks and valleys. And, this is just an area where, East Palestine's been going through a valley for a little bit, but they're on the up and up now. And I think there's a much better way you could put the light on these kids. And I think, like I said, shine the light on the fact that they've been there for all these practices, showed up for all these games, despite the fact that they're losing. And they could say, man, I don't want to keep losing. Forget this. Let's quit. They've been there throughout all of this. So
love it. Quinn, you come from the Canfield side, a little bit bigger school as well, but you've seen, I mean, you come down here every day, you see what this win means to a program that is in need of something to look at and say, that's why we go to work every day and punch the clock. I mean, when you look at someone in journalism that's kind of, sticking their nose up at that, taking the low-hanging fruit and just dialing in on beating down the kids and the program again, how do you take that?
Well, Quinn coaches at Lisbon too, and that's a smaller school.
Hey, Paul.
Yeah, I mean,
it's
oh God, it's shitty. You don't do it. You just don't do it. It's shitty. Like Ty said, there are so many things that you can look at that are positives, even when things are wrong. Like things are going bad, there's still positives to look at. And I mean, it's just, I don't know. It's weird. Like, it's a weird feeling coming down today. Like, I mean, it seems like everybody's so excited about the victory on Saturday. Like, it's such a big deal for not only the team, but like the community itself. And I mean, for that to kind of get overshadowed by some terrible article is like, it's just crap. It really is.
I'm very surprised. I thought there was a chance that I'd come downtown today and the entire town would be burned down because you have an East Palestine win on Saturday and you've got a Browns win on Sunday, and people are just kind of looking around like, what the hell is freezing over? Like, it is one of those situations like we've never had those two. It's been a while since we had those two events happen at the same time. So, again, proud of the Bulldogs. Mike, when you look at this, you've been at small schools. You're still at a small school. Beaver Local's not huge. What does positive press mean to you, and what is negative press? How does that affect you, not only as a journalist, as you are, but also as a student athlete?
I mean, I'm not a big fan of negative press, especially at the high school level, and attacking the numbers. I didn't get a chance to read this article, or I didn't even know about this article, but if you're attacking the numbers, you're attacking these kids that are a part of those small numbers, but they're still going out, like Ty said, every practice, every game, every long bus ride, every team camp over the summer, everything that they've done, and you're going to bash them for doing it because they're the small number of kids doing it. I just think that this was a poor choice of an article to write, especially with the buzz going around East Palestine right now. This is a huge win for the community, like everybody's been saying. I'm surprised the town's not burnt down either. But this is huge for East Palestine, and to sit there and try to shine the light on something negative when there are so many positives to take away from this, it's crap. It's terrible. It is something that you just flat out don't do. And this specific journalist did it. And I think that, like Paul said, handing your pen and your paper on the way out the door.
I just shared the article in case anybody was interested in reading it. So it's in the comments. You can just go ahead and copy and paste that. I know StreamYard's having difficulty with hot links. So we're working on that. Interested for this take because this is a young man who's played and coached at the same way. Billy, how do you feel about this kind of idealism of journalism?
I'm not a big fan. I mean, I think the article is tasteless. It seems more basically like this person went out of their way to attack East Palestine, and the problem with the journalism, the paper journalism, is it goes to politics. There's an agenda behind everything these days, and to me, there's no different here. And I have an issue with papers. In articles, people who write articles because there's no investment in any type of community in sports. If you just take us, what we do, we're invested into 52 schools, but we also have information. We're connected to the coaches, maybe some of the players we've spoken to. So until you're willing to kind of do something like that, you can't write this type of article. So if you are invested in that, you could probably come up. You probably wouldn't. First off, if you're invested in that, you probably won't write an article like this. It's this trash article, but it gives you a different perspective that maybe you can write what you kind of felt, but in a different way of saying, hey, maybe East Palestine is in jeopardy going forward. What are they going to do? Maybe a cry for help to help East Palestine to maybe recruit some more players, but. This was just bad, and a lot of people out there write articles on small schools. They say this all the time, whether it's on print or not. They have this feeling. When I was coaching at Newton Falls, we had 15 kids. Okay, the next year we had 35. So like everybody said here, small schools go through cycles. East Palestine's in it right now, and I'm sure they'll get out of it here soon, and hopefully soon.
Yeah, it's cyclical. And I think the biggest thing that I look at from this is we're not, and I've already had a couple people reach out and not necessarily defend the article, but they said that, media shouldn't be beating up media. And listen, I'm not trying to beat him up. I'm not trying to beat the Morning Journal up. But I said in my rant, if you will, there's a lot of hardworking people at the Morning Journal that do a really good job. This guy, not one of them. And I'll say that because this was a low-hanging fruit effort that all he had to do was talk about, like Ty said, all he had to do was talk about the fortitude of these young men that are going out each and every week and put a nice article together about their strength in low numbers. You know what I mean? Because these guys are the ones that are going to be hanging out 20 years from now saying, hey, you remember when we stuck together and we got that win, after being beat for 17 weeks? That's what they're going to talk about. It's easy to flip it, right, over, but it's just laziness not to. So again, I put it out there. There's no presidential debate this week. And listen, I'll even extend it to next week. If you feel, Ron Firth, who wrote the article, like you can stand by this, and this is a successful piece, and this is going to help student athletes, whether it's in East Palestine or any other, I will debate you all day. We'll put you in a chair back there if you don't have technology, which I hear is the case. We'll put you here, wherever you want to go. I'll sit down with you mano a mano, and we will see why you're in this business in the first place. If it's to paint a picture of what's right, or if it's to paint a picture of what you feel is integral journalism. You know what I mean? It's a shame. It's a shame that we have to read this. And on the week, nonetheless, that the East Palestine Bulldogs get the win, at least follow it up this week if you have any stones at all, to say, my bad. These kids overcame. They drove wherever they had to drive, and these coaches fled wherever they needed to flee to get that victory and make sure that the experience here for a small team that doesn't necessarily have the numbers was a good one. So if you want to have journalistic integrity, that's what you'll do. But I feel like you don't, because you didn't put a whole lot of effort into this in the first place. So,
well, the thing too is like they always say that, if it bleeds, it leads on news and stuff like that. This was he could write something like this, and it's going to stir up a controversy, which obviously it did. We're talking about it right now. And what did it probably do? Probably sold some papers, because people probably went out and bought it. Well, what's this guy talking about? I want to go get the paper now. And
well, they can't get it anymore, but I'll give them a few clicks, because here's the thing, Paulie, is newspapers. And I said this again in the rant. Newspapers and the way they report are the reason we're sitting here today, right? Because they don't always report both sides of the story. We will. If the worst case scenario, if you want to have one beef about YSN, it's the fact that we're not always partial, right? That's the biggest piece of confliction we have in our viewership. However, when it's favoring your team, you love it. It's like watching, or listening to the Steelers on DVE. It's like listening to Tom Hamilton in an Indians game. You love listening to them because they're one of you. That's what we do at YSN. We're one of you. So what's funny is, yes, we're in the media, but we're fans. We see things from a fan's perspective. We deliver that fan's perspective. What do you think that Coach Pav, which is the athletic director at East Palestine, what do you think Coach Foster, who is the head coach of East Palestine, even Coach Ogilvy and United, what were they supposed to say to this? And by the way, this was all given during emails. None of this was on the record technically. It was all over email. So it was based around one thing, and then I think he caught a little bit of a hook to a story, and this is what he came up with. And again, welcome. Please come and be part of the conversation, because I would love, and I know people here in East Palestine and on YSN would love to see and hear as to why you're putting 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18-year-olds on blast.
I mean, he doesn't have the balls to do that. He hides behind a pen and a piece of paper.
And that's the thing is
now a computer.
And then that's the biggest piece of this, guys, is you're not running from us anymore. When people ask what YSN's all about, I tell them we're somewhere between ESPN and Barstool. Well, today you got a little bit more Barstool than ESPN, and that's who we are, because we
put
are
him on a softball field with Coach Pav. We'll see what happens.
But reality is, if you're going to call yourself the media, you better do your damn job. End of story. And listen, we've done. I'm not going to say we're sitting here, we're putting ourselves on a pedestal and say we're perfect, because we're not. We never will be. We failed again and again, and we will continue to do so. But our intentions are always going to be to lift up and raise up student athletes, coaches, programs, districts, and all of that before we sit there and we put them on blast. Because we've had situations where student athletes have been put on blast before. Those people no longer work here. That's not how we do things. So I will say this to you, and I'm getting, like, this was not a publicity stunt. This was just, it's been wearing on me for a week. And if that team won on Saturday, where's their article? Where's their pat on the back for, you know what, you guys did a good, there's maybe 4 sentences in the Morning Journal about this, and it's from staff reports.
I've never even heard of the Morning Journal News.
It's in Lisbon. And it's owned by the same people that own the Salem News. And it's owned by, I think it's the Review. So I'm not doing this to start a fight, because, I mean, we've gone up against television stations, and now we stand victorious. Radio stations, we're victorious. I don't want to go backwards. And that's where I think the first industry that we feel like we flattened here at YSN was the newspaper industry. And it's because of this. Fans, readers got tired of the garbage that was being put out by local sports reporters in some capacity. I'm not going to put a blast on everyone.
So-called sports reporters.
What's that?
So-called sports reporters.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is like, you know how easy it'd be to just go look at the local elections? And like Trent said, Trent Conway saying he's the editor. So there's nobody to filter that after he writes it. Because I got to believe somebody would say, I don't know if this is a good idea. But when you're the editor, when you're the CEO, when you're the guy, right? Sometimes you have to put yourself in check. It won't be the first time when I write this story this evening that I send it to Anthony, our content director and our social media guy, and I say, check this. Does it come off the way that I need? That's all he needed to do, because somebody would be like, I don't think they're going to like this. And I think this is not an East Palestine thing. This is a small town, small district thing that people look to and they go, I wouldn't like this. I wouldn't like this if it was about us. There was an article a couple years ago in the Tribune Chronicle about Logan Bell. And Charles and I talk about it all the time. It was a disgraceful article, and it shouldn't have been written, because they basically just sat there and chopped Logan down like a tree. And I'm not saying that because he's my friend and that because Charles is my friend. I'm saying that because you shouldn't do that to student athletes in the high school ranks. Because heaven forbid Logan Bell is a first-round draft pick or a 30th round draft pick in the MLB.
I mean, he's pitching college Division I.
Get off him. That's my thing. They're kids. They're kids. Kids. Because, I mean, and Charles has a lot more patience than I do. Because if somebody would say that about my girls and they were playing sports, my dude would not, he'd be something out of a Bond movie. Like, I'll just put it that way. So, you know what sucks is are you guys good to go for a little bit more?
I'm here for you.
Yes.
DJ.
All right, let's do this.
I ain't got open gym until 7 o'clock. So.
All right, let's do this. Steve Gilmartin chiming in.
Woo!
Love it. Let's do this. I mean, we talked about journalism in question. Here was something that I saw on Sunday in the Canton repository that I know a lot of people are going to have some interesting takes on. Luke Schuster's still not available quite yet, so hopefully he's able to chime in some capacity over the next couple. Quinn, what are you doing? Beatboxing down there?
No, the thing's on.
Beats, yo.
I can barely hear you, and I don't want to put this on because it was on Poe's head.
All right, we'll play.
I'm just
trying.
trying.
There's a light switch over there that turns everything off.
Where?
Behind the silver thing. It's on the far left side. You just click it right by the. No, not behind you. It's to your left.
Left.
All right.
All right, I'll figure it out.
Yeah, he just asked what left was.
I looked right. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, you did.
We all saw.
I did.
The whole world just saw you look right. That is your JV basketball coach at Lisbon, folks. Dribble left. I mean, right.
I've been around Betos too long. That's all.
Oh boy, Betos.
He's out the rest of the week, by the way, too.
He's out the rest of the week?
Yeah, he sent a text on our thread. It popped up. He's like, out rest of the week. Can't be there Friday.
Am I rest of the week?
So we're going to do a little overtime here. And, hey, it's brought to you by G. Burbick Farms, just like everything else, right? Because, got to say, shout out to Greg Burbick for the unbelievable hookup on Saturday night. He teamed up with the Roadhouse. The Burbick Burgers were a-flowing here at HQ, and they were, just as we always say, they were – don't give me hands.
I was like,
you were at a birthday party.
They were fantastic.
Oh, I ate a couple for you.
They were unbelievable. They were, and there's still a couple left. So if you are anywhere near the Roadhouse in East Palestine, if you're anywhere near G. Burbick Farms on New Buffalo Road in Columbiana, you have got to get the burger. It is the best you will ever eat, straight up and down. And I know because I pout Sespe all the time. Love those burgers. But there's something about a G. Burbick, and it's humongous. It's this big, I swear. It's humongous. So shout out to Greg Burbick for hooking us up on that. We appreciate you and everything you've done for us over the 3-year period at YSN. But that being said, the Canton Repository putting up an article about different districts lowering the bar for student athletes for this reason or that reason. Do we think it's fair that the GPA goes below? I want to say my standard is 2, right? I sit here.
2 is the main bar, 2.
Yeah, 2.0 should be the main bar. I saw schools with 1.0 and another school that hasn't even addressed it. So should we lower the bar for GPA if you're a student athlete so you can play, or should that bar be the same for everybody across every district, across every state here in the country? Because we should hold student athletes a little bit more accountable. Billy Mack, we're going to start with you because I know Paul's got a great rant on this.
Is this a get into college to play sports, or is this a high school?
High school.
GPA? No, this is stupid. It's just dumb. What are we doing? We're there's something to be taught about to your kids. Like, you're not always going to win at things. You're not always going to, you're not always going to, sometimes you're going to have to lose. All right. Sometimes when you go and rob a bank, you get thrown into jail. Okay. So if you don't go to school and you don't, we're talking about high school. High school is not difficult. Okay. The majority of the United States passes. You literally have to go to high school and not show up and literally fall asleep in class to not pass high school. Okay. So if you apply yourself at any degree, you're going to have a 2.0. So really, what are we doing? And when I was, just for my experience in coaching, when I was coaching football and baseball, it was my responsibility to check in with these kids. If their grades started slipping, and I know the teachers hated me for it, but it was something that my coaches used to do with us when we were kids. So we would go in and we would say, hey, what's our grades? What's our grades? What's our grades? And then I would go with the kids. Why are you not doing grades? Well, guess what? Now you're here after school every day. Instead of lifting, you're sitting in here with me and we're going over homework every day. I'm going to do my part to help out. And that's something that coaches, they don't have to do that. And most coaches do that. And that's, again, why we love coaches, because there's so many good coaches out there that take that responsibility, where a parent should do that, but refuses to do it because they blame the teachers for it.
A lot of truth in that. McNuggies, you're a student athlete yourself. How do you feel about lowering the GPA so other classmates, not necessarily at Beaver Local, but across the board, more people can be involved in sports but not have to put the work in the classroom?
It's BS. It's terrible. In the words of probably Billy Mack, I don't know how he didn't say this, but that article and that idea stinks. Why are you lowering the bar for student athletes just to let them play sports? If anything, I don't think it should be. I think it should absolutely stay the same. But why would you lower the bar because you want to uphold them to higher standards? I just don't see it, honestly. That's all I got to say. I mean, I really don't have that much to add. Why are you lowering it? That's the question.
Quincy, your thoughts on this?
Answer.
Yeah, it's stupid. I mean, I'm 100% with Billy. It's dumb. I mean, what is the bar in high school? Is it 2?
Yes.
Like, across the board, is it 2?
The average is 2.
Not across the board. I mean, if you look,
not across the board, but it's average.
Yeah, they can have different ones. I saw ones that were
have, like some different ones.
1 point.
They're like a specific bar that they have to have or something.
No,
well, in the state of Ohio,
you don't have to
play sports. You have to pass 5
credits
classes.
Yeah.
So it's credit-wise.
But a D is passing.
NCAA does it.
A D's passing. So you can get all D's, and that gets you your 1.0.
Which tells you a 1.0 is the very minimum. So if you drop this any further, I mean, it's just, you might as well just get away with it. You just do away with it.
Don't lower it. It's dumb. If anything, you should raise it. So, in my opinion, you should raise it. The NCAA,
a lot of schools do. A lot of schools do, and they do a weekly thing.
Oh yeah.
That's cool too. I like that. It keeps you on pace. The problem if you do fall behind is it usually takes you 2 weeks to catch back up.
Don't fall behind. Do your work.
So let me ask you this, Quinn. I mean, I have an honest question for, I guess it'd be you, Billy, and Paul in some capacity. If a student athlete that you had on your team was below a 1.0, would you want them with the ball in their hands?
They wouldn't even be on the team for the ball to be in their hands, so I wouldn't even worry about it.
Say what?
Yeah.
They wouldn't even be on the team to have the ball.
Come on, like if we lower the GPA, but what I'm saying, you're missing. You completely missed my point there. If we lower the GPA, and anybody's allowed to play, do you want a kid that can't get it done in the classroom to have the ball in their hands or to be calling out plays for you?
No, I mean, I wouldn't, because it's about responsibility. It's about work ethic. It's about doing, making right decisions. And to me, just by having, a 1.0 or a terrible GPA, you haven't shown any of those skills. And that's what sports are all about anyway. And being a good teammate. That is being a good teammate. Passing classes is being a good teammate. As weird as it sounds, it's your responsibility to pass classes so you can play. And to have those, and you're saying allowing everybody, there's just no chance I would as a coach be comfortable saying, hey, the game's on the line. It's your decision. You have to make the right decision of whether to pass or shoot or to hand it off or to make a pass, I would never trust anybody like that.
Ty, look at this situation. I mean, do you feel like the GPA is low enough at 2? Do you think 1.0 is fair? Do you think they should lower it even further?
And what Quinn said too, I mean, the first part of student athlete is student. So you have a responsibility in the classroom, first and foremost, before you have on the field or on the court. 2, I would not lower it more than 2. I do agree with Quinn. I mean, I think you could raise it to like a 2.5. A 2 means you need to get a C average. And I mean, like Billy Mack said, I mean, if you just try and put in a little bit of effort and you just show up, you can get C's in most of these classes. And if you're struggling, there's plenty of there's tutoring opportunities at these schools. But I mean, it also comes back to like what Billy Mack's doing. I mean, the parents should hold their kids accountable, but I mean, the coaches, and I think what you're doing, Billy Mack, is incredible. I mean, you should hold these kids accountable because they should be doing good in the classroom. And I mean, what you said too, I think it was with what you said, DJ, about if a kid's got a low GPA, do you trust him on the court? And, I always think like character is one of those things where, I mean, you get the most character out of doing things you don't want to do and getting stuff done that you don't want to do. You don't want to do a certain class. You might not want to do your algebra homework or whatever, to pass that class. But I mean, you do it so that way you can get on the field and do the things you want to do and participate in your extracurricular activities. It's the same thing for almost any other extracurricular club, whether it's like whatever, key club, art club, drama, you have to have a certain requirement in the classroom, and we shouldn't lower it and coddle student athletes. I mean, you're doing the extracurricular, which is a sport, so you should have that responsibility in the classroom to get at least C's in all your classes.
Let's get to EB. He's working today, so he wants to say keyword student. If you can't take the responsibility to get it done off the court, you don't deserve the opportunity to get it done on the court or field. Why praise laziness? Ultimately, that's what it is. Take the initiative to be the best on and off the court that you can be. I'm with that 100%, and with that, that's a perfect segue into the studying hall teacher himself who gets to witness this every day. Paul, give us the 1-2 on what you're seeing, and obviously it's not just in the four walls of South Ranch.
Yeah, what I see is, and the big thing is, and we've all kind of hit on it at different points, it starts at home. It does. It starts 100% at home. If the parents aren't pushing the kids to get good grades, to do what they're supposed to do, then the kid's not going to do it. Because 9 times out of 10, these kids aren't going to take the initiative to do it themselves. I like you said, I sit here in study hall 5 days a week, and, I would say out of 25, 30 kids in here, 10 of them are studying. 10 of them are doing what they're supposed to be doing. The rest of them are sitting here on their phones, playing games, doing things, and having a good time. Are they getting good grades? Not quite sure. Hopefully they are. But the bad thing is that these kids who are like Ty said it too. 2.0 is a C average. C. All your classes are a C. You lower that anymore, it means a kid can get a D. To what Billy said, to get a D, literally, you just got to show up. Show up, get attendance, maybe turn one homework in, take a nap. You get a D. It's ridiculous. And to say that you want to lower this is even worse, because now you're saying, well, we know you're barely trying, but we're going to make it so you don't even have to really try at all. I know it's night and day difference, but this isn't college, to where like these college athletes who are there, who might be a superstar, know that they can take some cupcake classes. They're probably not going to get their degree. They're going on to the NFL or the NBA or wherever else they're going to go. They don't need those classes that much. They're going to skate through them. If you're trying to skate through high school, you're not going to college. You're not going to be able to get into college. Or if you do, you're not going to stay long. And we've seen that in the past from some kids in years ago around here who were at certain schools, and they skated by, was a good athlete. They go to college and they maybe last a semester or maybe a year because it's not right here. They don't have it here. I don't care. You can run a 4.2 40, or you can throw a baseball, 200 yards or whatever you want to do. If it's not here, you're not going to last long there. And the thing that kills me is the parents worry so much. I want my kid on the field. I want my kid on the court. We've dealt with it. We had kids in years past that like they weren't going to pass, and the parents are like, well, hey, can they still do this for a little bit, and then they'll get their grades up, but can they still go on this trip, or can they still be on the team for a little bit, and then when their grades are there, you can, it'll be okay? No, because what's that saying to these other kids who are working their butts off, getting good grades, and they're rewarded with being a student athlete. But you're going to say, because you're so worried about your kid playing a sport that you are like, well, we'll worry about his grades later. Let's just let him participate and be a part of the team right now. And it's like, it just blows my mind that you sit there and look at that. And the bad thing is the parents put that expectation on the kid. Like, I know you're a good athlete. Yeah, your grades are okay. I mean, and I'm not trying to paint the brush on all parents that do that. They're not. Some parents are sticklers. You get good grades, then you can do your sports. But I would probably say in the society that we live in right now, like Billy touched on, where everybody wants a trophy because they participated, and everybody wants a medal because they were there. Listen, sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. You work hard for what you want, you're going to get it. If you're just going to skate through, then that's okay. And to put a kid on the field that you were talking about, if I had a kid who had a below 2.0 GPA and they're just sitting there, most of the time what they are is they're a dick. I'm sorry. They're a dick because they have that attitude anyway that they're like, well, I'm just going to kind of get by. So they're not going to work hard on the field either. They just want to be a part of the team. The kids who want to work hard to be on that team, they're going to work hard off work too, or the field in the classroom.
I guess I have a question too. I mean, just a comment on this as far as like with the coaches here with Billy and Paul. So say that kid is like your superstar too. What if that kid is your all-star quarterback that, and then
you're not very good, so it doesn't matter.
You have that line though of between winning as a coach and winning for your program, and then that kid having to be good in the classroom. I mean, because it'd be ignorant to say that some of these kids, I mean, depending on their skill level, that some coaches don't treat them differently too, as far as like you're allowed, you have a little bit more slack, as opposed to what Paul said too. So, I mean, I'm just curious on like, from a coaching standpoint, how do you guys see that?
So you win as a program by making good decisions. A bad decision would be just because my kid is, maybe a jerk to not play him. But I'll give you a baseball sense. I'm a pitching guy, right? I will never put a win over my kid's health. Okay, so it's a similar thing, sort of. Is I'm not just because we're going to lose a game because I'm gonna punish this kid or I'm gonna take this kid out because his grades are. I'm willing to do that. And if a teacher, or not a teacher, but if an AD is willing to fire me over that, I'll be on YSN dogging the crap out of them because I made a good decision that most coaches would absolutely follow. Okay, and it's shame on the school because the school at that point is promoting winning over getting a kid to the next level and just college in general or just a general education.
You might want to take that to the newspapers because we don't dog our teams.
Well, I'll be on here.
But you want your ADs and your school to stand behind you when you make decisions like that. If you're gonna sit a kid or not have a kid on your team because they have bad grades or whatever it is, then that's it. You got to have the grades by the time it's eligibility to be in that sport. If you don't, then that's too bad because 9 times out of 10, by the time you are eligible, it's halfway through that sport anyway, so you're done. That's why I had a big problem with the way the school year ended last year because the school year for most schools ended with a pass-fail. There wasn't an actual grade given to kids because we all were at home. And I understand it was a crazy time, and it really was with the COVID and everything. But everybody went to a pass-fail. And if you think about that, the 9 weeks affected what sports? Your fall sports. So if you passed everything, a kid who normally probably would have not been eligible to play a sport in the fall, all of a sudden now he is. And now you're going to go, well, I'm going to go play now because I can play. What kind of kid is that anyway that you want on your team? Probably not one you do, but if you're not cutting, if it's a sport that doesn't cut, and this kid says, I'm coming out for the team now, well, now he's on the team because technically he passed all of his classes the last 9 weeks, and he was allowed to be on that team.
Well, this is a one-time thing, though. They're talking about traditionally trying to lower the number down from 2.0 to something lower than that, right?
Or 1.0 to lower.
And that's the thing. Like, and each school's different. Some schools might be a 2.5. Some schools might be 2. These schools are all talking about lowering it. So, I mean, like DJ said, if you read that article, which I saw, Like some of them are at a 1, some of them are at a 1.5, and it's to their own discretion. Now, the bad thing is when you look at that, you kind of look at some of those schools though too, and like where they're located. And I hate that they're going to do that. They're going to say, well, because they're located in certain areas, those kids might need the help. But like, that's crap.
Tough.
Because those kids can work just as hard as anybody else. They can get a tutor. It's the people at home who don't want to help those kids and say, oh, my poor son or my poor daughter, they don't have the resources to help them out to get good grades. So let's lower it.
This is the society we're living in right now, is that everybody's a blue chip, right? Everybody's going to Division I. Everybody is going to go pro. Everybody's going to do this. And
everybody's a victim.
And that's it. Here's the issue: is the statistics don't lie. The NCAA, 7% of high school students go on and play NCAA athletics at some level, right? That's Division I, II, and III. 2% go and play at the Division I level, and then 2% of those athletes, student athletes, go and play professionally. So when you look at the statistics, I'm not saying not to dream, because I'm a dreamer, right? I love kids that have a dream, but you got to put the effort in to get there. And I don't care, like you said, Paul, you alluded to it. If you're on a 4.240, fantastic. But if you can't pass math class, you're not going to do it. You're not going to know what to do with that money. You're not going to know what to do with this stuff. It's embarrassing that you can't pass an English class, but you're going to go out there and represent your school. That should be embarrassing. Parents don't like to admit that. And here's the other thing. You're out there under the hot spotlights of a basketball court or a football field or a volleyball court or a softball diamond or a baseball diamond or a whatever it is that you're out there with that name across your chest of the school you represent, right? A lot of times you don't have the name on the back. You're representing your school. If you're not willing to put the time in the classroom of the school that you represent, but you're willing to put it in on the court, field, or whatever, there's something wrong. And above that, parents, you talk about parents that are frustrated about this. They should be, because parents are more apt to say, well, I'd really, and Paul, your story was perfect. I'd really like my son or daughter to continue down this track, because if they're not there, it's going to be embarrassing and people are going to know that they didn't perform in the classroom. Because nobody, like, you don't post grades out there like you post statistics. Maybe that's something we should do. You look at that, maybe we should be having academic all-stars. Maybe we should be having, academic student athlete, da-da-da-da-da. But here's the problem, is parents have gotten so wrapped up in the hype of social media, of everything that is, out there in the world, that they've put some, I don't want to, like you said, paint with a broad brush, some have put more expectations on what they do in sports than what they do in the classroom. Listen, this is real life. I was not eligible my senior year of football. It killed me, but I didn't get it done in the classroom. Do you know the problem that I learned, or the issue, or the lesson I learned was, if I want something, I better go work my ass off for it, right? Because otherwise, I just don't show up and have expectations of being on the same field as everybody else. That crushed me, but it also changed me. So you can see the different dialogue that parents and coaches and administrators are having with their students. Is anymore, it's not, well, tough luck, it is what it is. It's I'm going to go fight for you so you can play. Whereas my parents basically looked at me and said, DJ, you had 9 weeks to get it done in the classroom, and you didn't. You chose not to. You had better things that you did. You prioritized very poorly. And so now you live with the consequences. Life, for every action, there's a reaction. That's what I learned. If I don't put the time in there, I don't get to do what I like to do. And that served me for the last 17 years. Because every time I think, what am I prioritizing? I think about what I want in life, what I want that day, what I want at that moment, what the big picture is. So when you have this situation where you're going to lower the GPA and the expectations of what you're putting on your student athletes, it's a disgrace, because all you're teaching them is, well, if you just hang in there long enough, the world's going to revolve around you. The world will change for you. The world is not going to change for us. And maybe it will. I don't know. I don't care who anybody's voting for in November. Don't care. Zero. Do not care. But I say this, is no matter which way we go, the outcome better be A plus B equals C. or X plus Y equals Z. Because if it turns into a handout game, that's not something I want to be a part of. That's not something I've ever wanted to be a part of and won't be a part of.
And the bad thing is there's examples all the time of kids getting pushed through. I'm almost positive if I remember correctly, it was Charles Mann. He played for the Redskins, right? For Washington. I'm almost positive it was him. When he talks about it. He talks about he got pushed through high school. He got pushed through college because he was such a good football player. He said in the one interview, when he went to sign his contract, he didn't read it. He could not read and could not write his name on the contract when he signed his NFL contract.
That's sad.
And he won Super Bowls and everything. And he talked about, he goes, I couldn't read or write. He goes, because I just was such a good athlete. I just got pushed through. They saw my potential and just pushed me through, and they knew I was going to bring, accolades at the high school, accolades college, and I'm pro now, and I can't read and write. Like, what are you doing? Like, why? Because you want to say we had that superstar at our school, or he won this trophy at this, and it's like, but what did you do to him long term? He's illiterate as a 30-something, 40-something-year-old man, and it's like. And by lowering these standards of these kids, you're making them do less work to accomplish something that they feel is more important. And
get your grades up. That's the moral of the story. Get your grades up and let the road rise to meet you, not the other way around. So,
yep.
Hey, it's time. We got to do a quick G. Berbick Farms. Actually, we don't care. We're not on time constraints. Whatever you guys want to do. If you got something, lay it out there. It's the G. Berbick Farms. What's your beef? Each day, we end our power hour by given kind of a big slab of either something we really, really hated or something we need to talk about or something that we want to promote. So throw out your G. Berbick Farms, What's Your Beef, proudly presented by G. Berbick Farms on New Buffalo Road in Columbiana. Visit them on the web at gberbickfarms.com. Let's start off with Quinn. He hasn't talked in a while. Quinn, what's your beef?
I got 0 beef.
Knew it.
Round 1, it's a great day. Then LeBron, the GOAT, got his 4th last night. Even better. And I had a great time on Saturday. It's a great day.
We are not going to get into the GOAT conversation because
GOAT's right behind you, buddy.
We're going to get in here another hour.
Right behind me? Yeah, absolutely. That's the greatest food I've ever eaten.
Huh. McNuggies, go ahead.
The only thing I might want to beef about is LeBron at the end of the game. I want my damn respect. He's earned his respect on the court. Why doesn't he go and do it off the court as well? We just talked about doing it off the court. You got to do it there too if you want to be on the court. He's earned his respect on the court. I'll give him that. Earn it off the court.
McNuggies! Love it.
What was Quinn saying while I was going on? Or is he just going to look at his phone?
He's awesome. LeBron.
I'll see you Sunday, Michael. I'm waiting for the same.
Oh, I will see. I'll see you Monday, actually, because I might be at Heinz Field to watch your Browns get beat down in person.
Wow. Well, I think everybody else just accepted the RSVP now that Michael's not going to be here. I think that was the big hang-up.
I will be here.
I will be there Monday. I will be here Monday.
Ty Bartell, your G. Berbick Farms. What's your beef?
My only beef is on the way up to Maple Heights. Some guy on our drive there, some guy just decides, let's cut into the lane going towards oncoming traffic. Came probably about 4 feet from hitting us in a head-on collision, and would not have been a good way to start the day before the game. So whoever that was driving that day, you're an ass.
I'm sure he's watching. Get him, Ty. All right, we go to Paul Munson. What's your beef?
My beef is very similar to Ty's. It's people who don't know traffic rules, who don't know the right-of-ways when you go to turn. And I went grocery shopping yesterday and got my snacks all refilled here at school, and I was leaving the store, making a right-hand turn with my turn signal on, which is my right-of-way to go, and the guy coming at me just started the turn. And as I'm turning, I'm looking through my door window, and he's like, bumper is almost like gonna give me a shave. And I was like, and he's honking his horn at me like it was my fault. And I just was like, I didn't say anything. I just drove, and he drove by and had some choice words for me. And I just said, listen, it's not worth it, the effort. I'll just come on here and beef about him on Monday.
That a boy. Way to save it. That's some refrigerated beef if I've ever seen it before. I mean, my beef's out there. I put it out there a little bit early, about 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock this morning. So you want it, go get it. It's you can hit me up on Facebook. It's out there. Seemingly everybody's seen it. I don't want to gloat, but I'm getting a lot of feedback from it, and I can appreciate where everybody's stance is. I didn't put it out there. Again, wasn't something I put out there for a public stunt. I was just, dude, I stewed about this for a week, and it didn't get any better. I live by the 24-hour rule. If you hurt me early, I'll give you 24 hours. If I'm still burning from it, I'm coming at you. So that's where that is. So G. Berwick Farms, What's Your Beef, brought to you by G. Berwick Farms on New Buffalo Road in Columbiana. And you can reach them again on the web, gberwickfarms.com. That's going to do it for our show today, guys.
Billy gets no beef.
I knew it.
Oh, well, I'm sorry. I
thought you were shaming him.
I was like,
sorry.
did he give him time?
I messed up. Go ahead.
This is crazy. I love to support G. Berwick Farms and have a beef every day.
That's built-in
I
beef
look
right there.
forward to it.
I
Before I get
apologize.
on the show, the first thing I think about, I'm like, all right, what's my beef? That's the first thing I think about. So here's my beef today. My beef is all these damn commercials with doorbell sounds. Okay? Because my dogs go batshit crazy every time there's a damn doorbell sound on a thing. And you hear it howling. And it's like, oh, where's the mute button? I got to mute. I'm sick of it. No more of those damn doorbells.
Unless they're a sponsor. Then they can do it as many times as they want.
Well, if they're a sponsor, on here is okay, but not on that TV. And it's all day. It never stops.
Appreciate you. Guys, that's going to wrap up the YSN Power Hour for Monday. Tuesday, who knows what the hell we'll talk about, but I'm sure we'll figure something out. We want to hear from you. Make sure that you're hitting us up on Twitter, on Facebook, and on Instagram, whether it's us individually or us collectively under the brand of YSN. We want to hear from you because it is your sports network. We'll see you tomorrow right here on the YSN Power Hour, 3 to 4-ish on YSN.